Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Mattel Jurassic World release. This time we've got ourselves the second wave of Mighty Little Biters, and these figures have been quite the mystery, honestly, as far as their releases go, because normally if you are familiar with the Mattel figures, you'll know that they usually release their figures in waves of 4, and I think that's pretty much been the case like the entire time for Mattel. If you go back and look at like the Snap Squads, or the Pop-Ups, or even the Danger Packs, or the Wild Roars, pretty much anything, except for, like, the few figures like the larger ones. Every once in a while you get, like, the gigantic trackers, or more of, like, a wave of 2. But most times when it comes to the smaller figures, it's a wave of 4. However, the first wave of the Mighty Little Biters was 3, which is super random, and now the second wave is only 2, which is really weird. And they have so many species they can include in this line, like, I don't know why they're kind of like dragging it out with shorter, smaller releases, but I don't know. That's just, a thought that occurred to me. But as you can see, when it comes to the newest wave of Mighty Little Biters, we've got ourselves a Velociraptor and a Pteranodon. And the packaging looks pretty much as it did last time. You've got some bite marks and stuff here kind of taken out of the side of the packaging, and then you have the Mighty Little Biters logo, the species name, and Jurassic World. And then on the back, basically just some information, but up there on the top, you can kind of see the T-Rex advertised as well. So I guess the T-Rex is technically part of this wave, but it is a figure that we had in the first wave, so it's not like it's a brand new one or anything like that. And you can see the same thing here on the back of the Pteranodon. Funny enough, actually, when you look at them, the T-Rex on the back of the Pteranodon packaging looks like it's a slightly more vibrant green than the T-Rex in the back of the Raptor packaging. I think that's just the way that the packaging itself looks, and obviously not two different color variants, but I just figured I would mention that. So I'm going to pop these out of the packaging and we'll check them out. So of course we'll begin with a closer look. We will start taking a look at the Velociraptor, our first time having a raptor in the line, which I accidentally stated in a recent news video that this was not the first time, but it actually is. For some reason, I'm just, like, there's so many Mattel figures out, sometimes I get a little mixed up, but this is, of course, our first raptor. Now, I will say the paint apps are honestly almost non-existent for this figure, and I think that's the biggest downside for this newest wave of these releases, is that there is a severe lack of paintwork, and they almost look more like prototypes to me than actual releases, because when it comes to the color of the raptor, you've got a darker blue, kind of a darker blue anyway, that is the majority of the coloration, and then you have a light grayish tone for the lower jaw, and that is it. There is nothing else on the figure as far as paintwork at all. You can see the nails are unpainted. We don't have any kind of patterning or alternate shades of color outside of course, I would think the inside of the mouth. And yeah, we can see the inside of the mouth does feature a really nice pinkish tone with the teeth painted with a nice light yellowish tone, and they also again have a nice gloss coat all over the place, and they're looking really quite impressive overall. And again, the tongue is even really nicely textured, so the inside of the mouth does look really good. The fine detail of the raptor also looks pretty decent. Sculpt wise, Mattel is never lazy, I would say. The fine detail of their figures is some of the best that you'll see when it comes to dinosaur toys of this style. As you move through the figure, you'll see the entire way through. Again, the fine detail is absolutely excellent. There is like a slight speckling on this one, so I guess there's sort of, in a way, you can consider having a little bit of extra color, but for the most part, not really. But you can see the arms are held into the body, the legs are pretty decently sculpted again when it comes to the musculature and stuff, and obviously the extra large feet, because these are super exaggerated, goofy dinosaurs, so I don't expect them to, look accurate or anything like that. But you can see even the detail within the nails is pretty impressive, and there's a little bit of a satin shine on the nails at least. Now, when it comes to articulation and everything like that, there's really not much at all. The only thing you really have going on would be articulation in the neck, and you push the head forward, you can see now the mouth opens and the eyes go absolutely crazy. So when it comes to the eyes initially, you can see we have like a nice yellowish tone with a black pupil, and then once you push the dinosaur forward, we now have super bloodshot eyes, and again, you can kind of see a little bit of the yellow, but now it kind of turns to more of like an orange, and then you obviously have the black pupil and everything. But it looks really neat, definitely fun overall. Again, you can see it's like it transitions so quickly, it actually looks like he legitimately gets angry. So, you know, overall, I think the action feature is really fun. I wish they would have given them a little bit of articulation. I think that would have just been a little extra added fun for these figures, because, you know, the fact that the legs are not movable or anything is a little bit of a bummer. But, you know, and of course the lack of paint application, and you'll see the same thing for the Pteranodon. There's not really much in the way of paint application, but I will say the Pteranodon actually looks quite awesome. I kind of want to get another of these and give it the Jurassic Park 3 paint job, because even though it is a goofy stylized version, like, look at the detail on this. This is absolutely beyond impressive when it comes to the fine detail. Just looking at all of the cracks and crevices in the beak is super impressive, and then of course the actual skin texture as you move up into the head of the Pteranodon again is super impressive when it comes to the sheer amount of scales that you'll see. But again, the same thing when it comes to the paintwork. We really only have like an orangish tone for the primary body color, and then this light tone for the lower jaw, and that's it. You don't see any variation of color moving along the underside, no variation of color out here in the wings. But again, the actual skin detail of the wings is phenomenal, just like the detail is through the entire figure. You've got a little tail out here for the Pteranodon, and of course the fine detail here in the back. Very scaly looking version of the Pteranodon. You can see the nails and everything are decently sculpted as well. And of course you're going to have the same action features. So you can see we've got the eye currently is a yellow and then a black pupil, and once we go forward, whoa, we get a crazy green now rather than just the bloodshot look. We have the bloodshot look with a green for the eyes. So the Pteranodon goes absolutely insane once the head is pushed forward, and now he is as angry as it gets. It looks really neat, I will say that. But as you move into the mouth, you can see the tongue and everything looks great when it comes to the pink used and the actual texturing in there. We can also see the gloss coat gives it a severe saliva-like look, which also looks quite realistic. But of course, we also have teeth for our Pteranodon. And if you know anything about Pteranodon, you know that they do not actually have teeth at all. But I get what they're doing. Again, if this didn't have teeth, it just wouldn't be as fun for kids and stuff. So I obviously understand why it has teeth, but it just doesn't make sense in the overall grand scheme of things because Pteranodon didn't have teeth. But their mainline Pteranodons also have teeth, so it is what it is, I guess. But you can see they are painted with like a light yellowish tone and also have a nice gloss coat. So overall, nothing super impressive when it comes to these guys. I need to readjust the camera and also readjust them, but they are still pretty fun. I just wish the paint apps were better. That's my main critique. Even the lack of articulation I can look past, even though I really would like to have articulation on them, but the paint apps just are so lackluster. There's just not really much of anything going on when it comes to the colors of these figures other than two different tones of color. At the very least, if they're not going to apply any variation of color on the figures, they could maybe paint the nails, just, you know, kind of to dress them up a little bit, but it is what it is. I'm definitely going to keep my fingers crossed that in the future they start to improve this aspect and maybe give us a little bit more color on these, because they're really fun figures overall, and we can very clearly see that Pteranodon actually has some pretty impressive size to him, a little bit larger than the standard figures in this range. But I don't feel like we really need sizes or comparisons or anything like that this time around. I basically just wanted to show these new figures off to you guys, the new species of the mighty little biters that have just released, and both are pretty cool. So if you are interested, I ordered these both from Target. They seem to go in and out of stock on Target's website, so if you can grab them from there, I would definitely recommend it if you want them, because it's, you know, nice to be able to actually order these type of figures from home. Most times they just kind of are like an assorted listing and you just order one and hope you get the one you want, whereas this time Target's actually been putting them up individually online to sell. So I will include links in the description to the listings. Check back and forth again to see if they are in stock or not, and of course grab them if you want them, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.